No, I had
3 minutes until showtime.
Dick DiBartolo was on yesterday, and he was using the I don't know if you have connections or if you just want to go check it out, but he was using the new C922. I think he was using the X from Logitech. It's a webcam.
Oh, well, I have lots of good connections at Logitech.
Yeah.
C922?
Yeah, see if you can get the C922 because he was using that webcam. He just started using it instead of his old one, and like I asked him if he got like new lighting or something because it was so much brighter without having to change anything. So
yeah, I actually needed to send Logitech a note on something else, so I'll send my contact that request as well.
Yeah, it worked out very well for him. So like your office is good. It's just that it seems like there's like a lot of lighting coming from here and there. So I figure in low lighting settings, the webcam might help.
2 minutes until showtime.
The lighting.
Well, I mean, like the lighting looks more like crime scene investigation kind of lighting.
Oh, good. I like that actually.
But I'm saying that the webcam yesterday that he was using really seemed to pick up a lot of ambient light, so it just kind of looked smoother all around. So.
All right.
Okay, I don't know if you just want to stay quiet or put yourself on mute.
1 minute until showtime.
The video portion. So, all right, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. We have a wonderful show lined up for you where the entire program is going to be Gary K with Tech50 Plus. Definitely go check out their website. But we're going to be talking about, some personal anecdotes as well as, interesting tech happenings where we are going to talk about some of the new tech products as well as the massive DDoS attack that happened last Friday, I believe it was. As well as a few other things, including self-driving cars, because that's something that we've talked about here on the show with Gary quite a bit. But our estimations on self-driving cars was they're coming, and then Elon Musk said
your show will go live in 5 seconds.
Here we
4,
go with Computer America.
3, 2, 1.
And I am an idiot. So, 1 second while I get something up and running. Sorry about this, folks. Just 1 second. And let's hope.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running national radio talk show on computers. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. I swear I'm a professional. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and yeah, we have a great show lined up for everyone today. We are the longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful I want to say Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. I'm horrible with days. But yeah, we have a lot of things to talk about. And before we get to our guests, I want to shout out a few things, including things that we talk about today. They're currently not up, but after the show, I'll be sure to go back and add them. But everything that we talk about here today, we are going to throw into the show notes. So we're going to have links. We already have a link to Tech50 Plus with Gary K. We are going to have links to all the articles and columns and stuff that we talk about here on the show. And we're going to have links to any kind of videos or anything that we watch. And again, we put that all on ComputerAmerica.com. So it's one place. If you're driving, if you're working, if you're exercising, if you want to go back and find something, we make it really easy to just go to one place and find everything that you need. Now, with that being said, also at computeramerica.com, you'll find links to our social media. Check out that, sign up, subscribe, follow, like, what have you. And just for supporting us, you are entered to win a prize from our friends over at Logitech. We are giving away the Keys to Go keyboard. It's a $70 value, and it's a wonderful, wonderful travel keyboard for phones, iOS, Android, Windows, or even tablets. Very, very concise, and waterproof, spill-proof, life-proof, all that good stuff. Now, I know that was a little quick, but I just want to jump into it because obviously my automation is working so well. So I want to bring in some real life attention, and I want to welcome on the show once again Mr. Gary Kay, and he is again with Tech50 Plus, and Tech50 Plus is obviously aimed at a 50 plus audience, or anyone who is interested in new technology, new gadgets, and really healthcare, travel, whatever your interest may be. Check out Tech50 Plus, and you will find content related to what you're looking for. So, with that being said, Gary, welcome on.
Thank you, Ben. Always a pleasure to be with you guys.
Oh, our pleasure indeed. So, I was sitting here, we were talking here before the show, and then I didn't pull up the automation. So, yeah, that was fun. But we are off to a running start, and with that being said, I understand that hopefully this isn't too personal about things coming and going from your body, but I understand that you had a rather large donation from your son not too recently.
Actually, too recently.
Too recently.
Yeah, and in fact, while it is personal, I think that people do not really understand how devastating kidney disease can be. So what I've been doing for the last month or so has been a blog that I've been doing in association with the National Kidney Foundation called Countdown to a Kidney, which was all about what led up to my need for a kidney transplant, which occurred just about weeks ago at Yale New Haven Hospital in New Haven, an amazing institution with just an incredible team. And the biggest blessing of all was that my 30-year-old son was willing to donate a kidney to me. That is an act of selflessness, heroism, that I will be, eternally grateful for, and is beyond my ability to express gratitude in words.
Right. No, it's a decision and a gift that you can only give once, maybe twice if you're really, really selfless, but mostly once. And shout out to him. So before we kind of move on, obviously there is a tech angle to this, folks. This is Computer America, so there is going to be a tech angle to this. But just for anyone out there who might be listening, when you first kind of caught wind of kidney problems, was it you were feeling them by yourself, or was it an annual checkup? Like, what kind of led you to think that you needed a transplant?
I had been under treatment for diabetic problems for many years now. And one of the consequences of long-term diabetic problems can be deterioration and ultimately failure of the kidneys. And kidney disease is chronic, and unfortunately, it's pretty much irreversible. So even if you grab hold of your diabetes, the damage is already done. And even if you can, get the rest of your body systems to reverse, the kidneys are one place that are just totally unforgiving. So we've learned an awful lot about how many people are out there suffering from kidney disease and getting dialysis and waiting for transplants, and many of them waiting for transplants that will never come. But you can find it all on my website, Tech50 Plus, under the heading Countdown to a Kidney. You'll see the entire saga.
Very, very interesting. And yeah, definitely go check that out.
And the news today was, we spent a lot of time at Tech50 Plus talking about connected healthcare and remote monitoring,
Right.
and how important that can be and will be in several regards. One is in reducing the costs of providing healthcare. If you don't have to go into your doctor's office and you can get the things your doctor needs from your home to your doctor, that's going to save that doctor a lot of time. It's going to save the entire system a lot of money. But more to the point, we've found with all of the studies that have been done, or pretty much all of the studies, that if you have chronic disease, things like diabetes, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, and so on, that using monitoring equipment at home to tell your caregivers and your clinicians what's going on can actually give them the information to intercede if there's a problem before you require hospitalization. And where the studies have been put into effect, they have been able to reduce repeat hospitalizations by more than double digits. And if you look at that across the entire health spectrum, that's a saving of a potential saving of tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. So as we all worry about our deductibles going up and our copays going up, there are technological solutions out there that are coming online that will actually help reduce some of these costs in the coming years. So the thing that they told me today, which made me very, very happy, was that beginning within the next week or so, I will be able to alternate my physical visits to the clinic with video visits to my care team.
That's different. Yeah.
So, it's going to save me a lot of wear and tear, and they still feel that they can get just about all of the information they need in a very timely manner.
Yeah.
Even to the point of being able to, you should pardon the expression, taking an iPad and showing them what's going on my incision.
Yeah, no, that's that's what I was kind of wondering about was with obviously I don't know if you're going to do this through Skype or some kind of proprietary thing that they have on their end, but what kind of information can they really get through, like you said, a webcam or a microphone? Like, there's not the doctor holding the the cold stethoscope to your lungs, but I guess for an outpatient, or not outpatient, but aftercare kind of thing, you're saying that they can get, like you said, pictures of the incision and just kind of your verbal confirmation that, hey, yeah, I'm still alive and I'm feeling okay, right?
Well, believe it or don't, there's a tremendous amount of medical quality information that is provided just by looking at you. So if a doctor looks at you on a Monday, and then the following Monday you look like crap, he can tell that there's something wrong just by looking at you, or from the tone of your voice, or from whether your eyes are open or wide open, from your expressions. So there's a tremendous amount of information that can be conveyed right there. And folks who are going to be on a regimen like this are also going to be monitoring their own vital signs, blood pressure, temperature, and so on, and reporting back during the course of those video visits. Now, there are certainly other technologies that Philips and Qualcomm and others are providing that will allow for the remote monitoring and remote sensing of those functions, but that's not something that we need to do in my instance. They're much more interested in having a real-time conversation with me.
Right. Yeah, and again, that's kind of the other question I was going to ask, was that with with all this technology, obviously we've had the capabilities for quite a while. But what like you mentioned that this was a trial. Are they hoping that you're going to show improvement over a traditional case, or like is this just the way things are going and they're trying it slowly with a few patients? Like
they're trying it with patients who they think are relatively tech savvy, because being able to master the technology at home is not something that everybody can do. certainly not in an older audience, and the post-transplant audience is generally an older audience.
Okay, so yeah, you have to be tech savvy, and obviously you have to have the medical need for something like this. Do you think that, and again, I think you're the right person to ask, Tech 50 Plus, but do you think this is only going to continue? Like, obviously, if someone requests that they come in every week, then then they're going to get that kind of care that they want. But do you think this is going to be an option for more and more people kind of going forward?
Well, so let me find a slightly different scenario for answering your question, Ben.
Sure.
We're in the mode of baby boomer retirement right now, where tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of baby boomers are retiring, every month. And what are those guys doing? Well, for starters, they all have what I would call a legacy healthcare system. They've got their doctors, which probably involves a primary care physician and a whole bunch of, depending on how much is wrong with them, a whole bunch of specialists. And let's say that they're living where I live in Connecticut, and they wake up on a day like today, as I did, and find snow on the ground. And they go, okay, time to get out of here for the winter. So I pack up and I go to my rental apartment in San Diego, but I leave all my doctors behind.
Right.
So now what do I do? Well, I got a problem.
Yeah, and it's not always the best case to send over information, have two doctors talking to each other, and of course possibly looking over something. And of course, I don't know what other kind of information, because obviously we've talked about health tracking on the show before, but we've always said that one of the big positives to all the technology in healthcare nowadays is that doctors don't just have to get the snapshot of when you walk in the door. They can also continuously monitor you through fitness tracking, through diet, through your diet apps where you log your diet. I mean, they can kind of get a lot of information continuously. Did they mention that they want any of that, or is it just strictly the weekly interviews with you?
Right now, all they're asking for is the weekly interviews. But you raise a very interesting question. This is something that we've covered and we continue to cover, and that's called, who's got your data, or who's seeing your data.
Right.
And we have a real major disconnect, Ben, because we have the ability to track all of the data you just mentioned, whether it's your heart rate, whether it's your blood sugar, whether whatever, they can track it. The real question is, who has the time to look at it?
That's right.
The primary care physician does not. Simply does not. In fact, one of the things that little story that was brought to my attention a little bit earlier this year, a friend of mine who had one of these implantable heart monitors, and the monitor wirelessly reports back to a central collection facility on what's going on with our heart. And so theoretically, when she walks into her doctor's office, the doctor can see, did she have this kind of episode or that kind of episode? But the fact is that there was nobody who was monitoring that data on a real-time basis who could intercede if she was in the middle of an event. Now, that's pretty stupid from my perspective, but that's the nature of the healthcare system. So we have this huge problem in that the technology right now may be 4 or 5 years ahead of our ability to get usable information out of all this data. And that's a problem.
Yeah. And of course, this isn't something that I don't think we talking about before, but Watson just made news again, I want to say yesterday, where they published a study where they fed, all these like 160,000 research papers, whatever it is on cancer research, into Watson, and they compared patient record, patient data, fed that into Watson, and then Watson would recommend, all the different treatments that he's read about in scientific journals, and would recommend treatment to cancer patients that maybe the doctors, again, what kind of doctor is going to be able to read 160,000 research papers every year that get released? So, but in this one, it was actually very good for the doctors because the doctors were right about 99% of the time. Like Watson agreed 99% of the time. But what made news was that Watson recommended an additional, 30% of those patients, Watson was able to recommend additional treatment possibilities for these patients. So when you're talking about data and too much data to sort through, something like Watson is going to have to, or is at least this is the thinking of course, IBM, who owns Watson, and many in the medical community that are following this. But yeah, they're hoping that Watson, who is able to ingest years worth of data in a matter of days, is going to be able to recommend treatments and essentially treat you without without doctors having to know every single detail about you and the medical community at the same time.
Well, I think you're quite correct, and I've talked to the guys from Watson, and I hope to be doing more with them. But big data, which is the heart of what Watson is all about, is going to be a critical component of the system. The other thing that is going to be critical, which is sort of goes hand in glove with the kind of big data that Watson is doing, is setting up systems that can take in all of this data in real time, whether it's blood pressure, heart monitoring, blood glucose, and so on, and initiate responses through a sort of management by exception system. So if you're not familiar with management by exception, the best example is airline reservations. Right? Back in the old days, if you wanted to make an airline reservation, you called your travel agent or you called the airline. Today, the vast majority of those transactions are done online. The only time you land up calling an airline reservations clerk is if something goes wrong. It's the only time that you talk to a human voice. So here, what we're talking about with the medical monitoring is pretty much the same. It is, I've got, I can collect, thousands of data points from this patient, but unless they're outside of the normal parameters, there's nothing that I need to do.
Right.
And if they are outside of the normal parameters, the big data collection and management people are capable of seeing this in real time and responding to it by saying, look, we just got this alert, his blood pressure has spiked markedly. Somebody really needs to get a hold of the primary care physician or the specialist or the patient, whatever, and check in. And again, overall, this should, I qualify that, both improve the quality of care and reduce the transaction cost.
Yeah, well, I mean, your analogy of the airline, kind of ticketing kind of thing, very, very good. Of course, we see fees tacked onto those left and right, but obviously that's kind of a symptom of for-profit kind of thing, and I don't want to get into healthcare costs and all that kind of stuff. But your analogy did actually kind of tickle my brain in that I hope that healthcare one day gets to the level of booking an airline where, I mean, I've booked a number of flights in the past couple of years. I've never had to talk to anyone. Like I haven't even had to talk to the people at the front desk when you check in your bag. I kind of just throw it on there and walk away. It's not hard at all to get from point A to point B without ever having to deal with a person. And if healthcare can be the same way, where I get my medication, I get my recommendations, all through a system, and I'm healthy. Again, qualifying it with, and I am healthy. Nothing bad happens on the other end. Like that's a good thing for healthcare, though.
Well, in particular, when you look at the numbers of the baby boom population who are now entering the phase where they are going to increasingly need intensive care from the medical system. And unless we find ways, and these are the ways, of reducing the transaction costs, it is going to swamp the medical resources that are available. So it's really going to be a matter of survival for the medical system, for the healthcare system.
And I really, really do hope, because healthcare, that is a good thing to keep alive. So, but yeah, no, and to kind of wrap this up, obviously you are, patient number one to try out this new telecommuting thing. Which again, when you're talking about,
well, not quite number one. I think I'm actually number 8 or 9.
All right, so patient number 8. Okay, so not even prestigious, but okay, number 8 or 9. No problem. But no, if we're talking about saving costs, it saves you the cost of course, I don't know how long it takes you to get to your doctors, but let's say
45 minutes.
45 minutes each way. Saves you gas, saves you time, and then of course
parking. Got to pay for parking here in the Northeast.
And then let's say the interview takes 10 minutes. The doctor doesn't have to kind of budget half an hour for you. It just takes what it is, and then he's able to kind of see 8 or 9 patients in the space that it takes to see 2 or 3. So talk about saving cost. What you are about to go through in your recovery is cost saving all around. So very exciting.
Yes, it is. And after we've been doing this, the next time I come on and talk to you, hopefully we will have had a couple of experiences with it that we'll be able to talk about.
Yeah, looking forward to it indeed. Now, to move on to our second topic, because the first one only took 25 minutes, but we have a lot more to talk about, and healthcare is one thing. I think we should cover. It's the most recent news thing that we can talk about. So I really want to talk about it. It's the DDoS attack that happened on Friday. And while it wasn't the largest, I believe on Friday I said it could have been the largest. It was not the largest, but it was a big one, and it targeted a very basic or sub-level infrastructure of the internet. And for them to target one thing, it brought down many big websites. So first of all, Gary, I know here at Computer America we actually lost email for about a day because of the attack. Did you experience anything? And
we had some minor difficulties with some of our streaming services, but I think that the implications of last week's DDoS attack should be scaring the daylights out of everybody.
You think?
Absolutely. Here's why. Because it shows the incredible vulnerability of the entire information infrastructure. And where did these guys get all of the data that they used to drown these websites? They got it from webcams, from Internet of Things devices, from DVD players, from hard drives. They sucked them out. And how did they get in there? They got in there because probably millions of people who have the devices that are connected to the internet, like these security cameras, even baby monitors, never bother to change their passwords. The thing comes in, it says password, admin.
Right.
Default password, and they just leave it there.
Right.
So what happened with this DDoS attack was that these guys went out and they just went fishing all over the network for these vulnerable sites, sucked the data out of them, and poured them in on Netflix and Twitter and PayPal and a lot of other folks.
Yeah.
And yes, I was impacted through PayPal as well.
Yeah, no, they PayPal went down too. That was big. Yeah, like, not to understate this, but the companies that were affected by this, and we were talking, like I said, PayPal. There was Reddit, Twitter. I think was down for a while. Many companies around the world. Millions of dollars lost just because of this one brief outage. And again, it may seem like, oh, I can't access PayPal for 6 hours. Oh no, but no, it's millions upon millions of dollars that were lost. And I believe the company that has admitted fault to this was Zhongmai. It's a Chinese company that, just like you said, they make DVRs, webcams. They make many connected devices. And like you said, it's all about those weak initial passwords. They said they were weak. They were purposely made weak so people would not have difficulty setting them up. And they've recalled, pushed out software. They've done they've kind of done as much as they can. But yeah, it was 500,000 devices, which are essentially computers. Those 500,000 computers swamping the DIN DNS kind of company. And I made this analogy when it first happened on Friday, was that the problem with this attack is that it's so basic, it's so low level. Like, it's not like, oh, I found a vulnerability and I'm going to take advantage of it, or I know insider information. No, it's just like having 500,000 people stand in your driveway. I mean, you're not going to be able to get in. People are not going to be able to get out. It's not exactly complicated. Like, it's not, having 500,000 people stand in one place, again, is not complicated, but it's very effective for what it did.
So let's talk a couple of minutes about the implications of some of this.
Sure.
One thing, Ben, and I don't know where we are in terms of taking your break.
We got about a minute.
All right, but one thing is we've been talking moments ago about connected healthcare. Mm-hmm. Well, how secure is your healthcare connection going to be, or does it need to be? And the DDoS attack points out some incredible vulnerabilities, and by extension, you have to stop and wonder how vulnerable you are. And as we go crazy with the Internet of Things, how many vulnerabilities we are introducing into our own homes simply by connecting devices together to the Internet, where there's a lot of bad actors out there.
Yeah, there are always going to be people who want to, take advantage of whatever they can. I mean, we can talk about kind of the implications behind this and why they really did this. I mean, I read some articles that was like, it was a, kind of a testing, kind of probing thing, trying to see what kind of security measures DIN really had against something like this. But I've also heard reports that, hey, if you have a botnet that has 500,000 bots, you can sell that. I mean, it's not just the one who makes it. You can sell that botnet to anyone for thousands, if not millions of dollars, just to cause havoc. I mean, this is going to be a continuing problem. So, Gary, the music means we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with more. We have a lot more to talk about, including self-driving cars. We're going to talk about, I'm sure, other stuff that's currently blanking out of my mind, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So everyone, stick around for more Computer America and Tech 50 Plus.
Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
I don't know why a UPS doesn't have a backup light. Hi, I'm Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America, this time Onyx beacons. You don't need a pair to use the Bluetooth beacon service, so nearby transmitters can trigger events in handset apps, from product promos to directions across a campus or a building to where you're going. Onyx beacons make some delightful transmitters. They can be Apple side iBeacon or Android side Eddystone units, and they have online tools for running campaigns with it. Their smaller Beacon 1, midway between the size of a checker and a York peppermint patty, runs for months on a coin cell. The larger Enterprise Beacon, about as big as a DVD 10-pack, uses 2 or 4 AA cells for USB power. Their hand setup had no problem seeing and identifying all 6 of the units they sent us. Bottom line, we have plans for deploying Onyx beacons in our project house, and we couldn't be happier with how they work. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. Just want to make sure I get my dates right. And I think Marty Winston is actually supposed to be on the show with us here next Tuesday. So that's November 1st. And he's going to be here talking about, he just mentioned that project house. He is designing a smart home from the ground up, building a new home and putting as much smart technology as he possibly can into that home. So yeah, he's going to be here for an hour telling us all about it, what he's doing, and what he's finding out when trying to build a new house that is the house of the future. So looking forward to that. And but right now we are talking to Mr. Gary Kay from Tech50 Plus. Again, there are links to the articles that we're talking about and to the website in the show notes. So if you want a link to anything, go check that out. With that being said, we are, I think we're just wrapping up this conversation about the Friday's DDoS attack, which again affected many, many websites. And I think, something that Gary has tried to scare us with and, should be made abundantly clear is that as devices get more prolific, be it your thermostat, be it your wristwatch, be it your computer at home, be it your toaster, they're all going to be vulnerable to these, to be harvested for these kinds of attacks. And, this one was 500,000 devices. The next one, when your dryer, your washer, your fridge, when all these things are connected to the internet, the next one may be 5 million devices. And, that's going to cause a little bit more than some slowdown on Twitter. Like that's going to bring almost the internet to its knees, like if they hit the right spots, right?
So before we do this, let me just mention quickly that if you're interested in Marty Winston's project, you can find our ongoing series from Marty called Smarty House at Tech50 Plus.
I like that name.
Which basically goes sort of system by system through what Marty is trying to get done with the new project. And again, it's called Smarty House at tech50plus.com. So circling back here to what you were just addressing, I think that realistically, Ben, people need to start thinking about what do you really need to connect to the internet and why? Do you need to connect your washing machine? Do you need to connect your refrigerator? Because every one of these items that you connect not only brings with it theoretically some technological advantage, but also brings with it an inherent vulnerability. And it is clear from the DDoS attack that those technological vulnerabilities are ubiquitous. And, we talked about 500,000 devices right now. As we add our garage door openers, the thermostats, the cars, the toaster ovens, the electric range, the washing machines, the dryers, every one of those nodes represents a possible point of entry inside your home. It's your home. It's where you live. And by extension, what does that mean in terms of vulnerability for your home server, for the data that exists at home? If you're a bad actor, if you can hack into the baby monitor, what does that mean you could do to a baby or to that family? I mean, some of this stuff is just plain scary. So what we've started doing now is basically cautioning people. We're not saying, don't adopt new technologies, because that's certainly antithetical to what we're about. But we are saying, is this connection necessary? Is this something that is going to bring you more vulnerability than it is going to bring you advantage?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you say why? I think that's a question that many companies out there who make these things haven't asked themselves yet.
No, sir.
They ask themselves why not, and I'm sure last year at CES it was all the rage to put not only Wi-Fi and Bluetooth but also sensors. So air quality sensors, light sensors, temperature sensors, motion sensors. Sensors were in everything. And then, of course, each one of these things was also connected to a smart home in some fashion, be it Zigbee or any of these.
Zigbee, Z-Wave, there are a few of them, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, that's only going to consolidate down into one, kind of one system. But I'm always reminded of like when the whole connected device thing kind of started. It was one example that I always pointed to was a hotel had a wine storage refrigerator kind of deal, and they connected to the internet. No password, no security, no nothing. Just gave it its own IP address, so that the hotel manager could kind of monitor who goes in, who goes out, and what the temperature was. Someone found it. Someone jacked up the temperature to 100 degrees and ruined $300,000 worth of wine. I mean, security is so secondary to the possibilities of what you can do with connected devices. It's going to bite us in the butt before long.
And I don't know how you deal with the notion that security is so important when you are trying to sell this stuff, when these companies are trying to sell this stuff with ease of setup. Just plug it in and it works. Well, yeah, you can do that, but you're stupid if you do that. and the guys who are selling you this, they're not going to say, "Hey, you're really stupid if you do this." I mean, one of the things I think they should do is require that as soon as that's plugged in, you are forced to generate a new username and password that's not default or admin or testing 1 2 3 or password.
Right. No, that's the company that we were just talking about, who was compromised for the DDoS on Friday. That was their solution, was that they immediately pushed out an update to every connected device that said, next time you log in, you have to make a new username and you have to make a new password. I'm sure they had, it has to be 5 characters long or whatever. But yeah, it was kind of reactionary. That their first instinct was to do, like you said, admin password or admin default. I mean, yeah, ease of setup is anti secure.
So this in and of itself raises some issues. Passwords really suck. I mean, on so many levels. And the problem is that I don't know how many accounts do you think, Ben, that you have that require passwords? I think it's 10, 20, 40, 50 more?
Easily 30.
Okay. So I bet that I don't know that I'd bet, because you're pretty smart, but there's a good chance that for the vast majority of folks who are out there listening, you are using the same or similar usernames and passwords in all of your accounts. And that means that if somebody trolls and can bust one of your accounts, they can get to the family jewels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw that with the with the massive iCloud kind of compromise that they were talking about, with all the celebrity photos. Like that's essentially what what caused that was that they found the password to their LinkedIn or whatever small time account that they were using, and then they just tried to plug that into the iCloud or Google or whatever, and it worked. Celebrities do it. Many people do it. It's like I've been in a situation where I had to change my password every single 2 weeks, and after about 6 weeks I was forgetting my password. I mean, it just wasn't feasible. So
Right. So here's my suggestion for this, and that is you use one of these random generators and you generate nonsense passwords, parens, and sign, ampersand, number, letter, whatever. A whole string, 25 characters if you need to, which I think is like the max on most of these.
right.
All right. As soon as you've created that password, you copy that password and you put it into your wallet, your password wallet, or you put it into a separate secured folder or a document, something that you do not label in order to find it passwords.
Yeah, I've seen it before, but to also kind of add to that, I mean, if we're talking security tips, don't make your security tips very common, or very easy to guess, because the idea, like, I'm not going to say the company that I had, but in a house, I had roommates, and I was out of town for like a week, and they wanted to reset their their IP address. Uh, don't ask why. I don't know why, but anyways, they called up the internet provider and pretended to be me on the phone. And when it came time for, okay, what's your password? They didn't know the password, obviously, but then they said, okay, what are your security questions? And they're like, favorite superhero. And they're like, well, this, like, they gave the guy on the other end a sob story, and he's like, well, he wears he wears an S on his chest. He's like, oh, Superman, obviously. And yeah, they let him into my account. And of course, it was my friend, so they just want to change the IP address. But yeah, they could have done anything when they had access to that. It's not just having a secure password; it's making sure that your answers aren't as easy to find as Googling your name and seeing your mother's maiden name right there connected to your Facebook.
Yes, I think that's a very valid point. And I don't even normally I concentrate on the passwords and not the security questions, but you're quite right. That's equally as important, is to come up with really obscure questions or answers that even the folks who know you are probably not going to know.
Yeah, just keep yourself safe. But at the end of the day, like, I think the industry is coming on to the fact that people hate passwords, and that passwords are not sustainable in their current form now that everyone is asking us for one. So I think between password managers and a couple other efforts to essentially eliminate the password from our lives, I know that Google is working on one where you essentially log into one master account, and then your master account has passwords to everything else. So they're working on it, but stay safe until then.
Right. There a couple of things that sort of puzzle me, though, Ben. One of which is why fingerprint recognition and other biometric recognizers like iris scans have not become more ubiquitous, especially the fingerprint stuff, because that's easy to perform on a smartphone, and many of the current generation of laptops have them as well.
The only thing I can say about the fingerprints is that it's not again, this is going into kind of the amendment, the Fourth Amendment in particular. But in terms of privacy from intrusive government, and again, I'm not hoard gold and canned soup in your basement kind of person, but we just talked about a court case that happened back in March, I want to say, and the cops had a search warrant, and written into the search warrant, which again will not hold up in court because of the Fourth Amendment. But they said that anyone who is reasonable age to own a smartphone, the cops can make you depress your thumb and all of your fingers onto your smartphone until your smartphone opens, and then they can search it because it's an open device. Like, and we heard,
Wow, I had not heard of that. That's pretty scary.
yeah, and again, the judge wrote that into again the search warrant. Obviously, will not hold up in court. That was completely overreaching.
Well, I talk about unreasonable search and seizure.
Yeah, and that of course, and then the terrorist attacks that happened in California. I'm regrettably forgetting their names, but yeah, no, they wanted Apple to get in there and kind of give them a thing, and then there was the whole hubbub with Apple.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that one.
Yeah, that one. But Apple would have said that if they had, and the only reason that they had trouble getting into it was because they reset the phone and they had to have the PIN number. But if they had the thumbprint, they could have beamed that from their servers, and Apple would have complied wholeheartedly with the U.S. government if the thumbprint was still, if the Touch ID was still active, but they had turned it off. So, I mean, when you're talking about security and privacy, fingerprints are more and more proving to be not as secure as a basic PIN number.
Scary out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's confusing. Like again, longtime listeners of my show and frequenters of your website. I mean, unless you focus on this every single day like we do, you don't have a chance of keeping caught up on what's happening out there. So I can understand where just like an everyday person, they don't know which way to go. So it's confusing. Listen to Computer America. That's all I can recommend. All right, so with that, we have about another 10 minutes, and I want to get to some other stuff, some happier stuff, some exciting stuff. And one of these I know that I'm looking forward to because I know this weekend I will be driving for about 1,500 miles over the course of 2 days. Not fun, but it's something that you have to do unless you have a Tesla and unless you can wait another 1 or 2 or 3 years. But yeah, Gary, what's up with the Tesla and Elon Musk announcement about his autopilot feature?
Well, Elon basically said that from here on out, every Tesla that rolls off the line is going to be capable of self-driving. Now, can he really do that? Well, he possibly can. Will the regulatory authorities let him do that on a state-by-state basis? That remains to be seen. But it certainly ups the ante in terms of, one man putting a stake in the ground and saying, no, self-driving cars aren't in your future, they're in your present.
Yeah, and that is Elon Musk's style, is to make put those stakes, make the statement, and really say, hey, we have the technology for the future, we just need to embrace it. I think one of the very, very key points of Elon Musk's self-driving cars is that currently they're all turned off. Like, you cannot hop on the highway, turn on the self-driving feature, and just let it go. It has lane assist, lane keep, auto braking, that kind of thing. It has all those features, but autopilot itself is not turned on. One thing that you're talking about, the regulatory aspect of it, I think why he did this is that he has all of his computers running in shadow mode. And it sounds scary, but what it's essentially going to do is it's going to let the person drive, like they normally would. And then over the years, over the months, Elon Musk is going to be able to go to Congress, to wherever, and hold a piece of paper in his hands and say, according to our data, according to our research, if our cars had been driving instead of our people who bought our cars, we could have prevented X number of accidents, X number of deaths, X number of costs to the system. This shadow mode of a computer is going to be running in the background continuously as if it were driving, but it's going to kind of say, oh, well, if I had been driving, we wouldn't have been sideswiped, we wouldn't have been T-boned, we wouldn't have been this, that, or the other. So I think that's
you've now come full circle in the course of this 1 hour, all the way back to Watson Big Data.
Yep.
Because ultimately, one of the great advantages of the self-driving car is going to be its ability to draw on comparable driving experiences from hundreds or millions of vehicles and vehicle miles, and basically saying, okay, computer, I'm traveling at this rate of speed, and this guy's crossing in front of me. And the computer will say, well, based on an analysis of, 273,000 previous incidents that have these same circumstances, the car should brake and veer to the left.
Yeah, exactly. That is what they're planning on. And in another case that you just mentioned, crowdsourcing information in a laboratory setting, you're never going to find all the conditions of the real world. But when you have 15,000 Teslas, 100,000 Teslas, however many Teslas they have, when you have that many Teslas, you're going to experience more situations than a lab could ever reproduce. So yeah, we don't have self-driving now, but when he says that they're capable, it means that in 1 year, 2 year, 2 years, 3 years, when he's ready to flip the switch, they're going to be loaded with enough sensors, radars, lidars, whatever, and they're going to be capable of self-driving completely and autonomously, which is exciting. And like you said, it's not a part of your future; it's a part of your present. We talked about self-driving cars, and we heard 2019, 2020, 2021 for places like Ford, and then Tesla comes out and says, "Well, 2016, yeah, we could do it now, but we're not going to, but we could."
So, of course, the other side of that, then, Ben, is, or is car hacking going to replace carjacking?
Absolutely, no. It's the same. It's the same point with the DDoS and the Internet of Things. Every new computer and every access point is a vulnerability. So,
and all of a sudden, if you have thousands of cars on the Long Island Expressway all talking to each other, and in 1 second flat they're all speaking gobbledygook, you could have the largest chain reaction in the history of the world.
that'd be one big accident. And whenever something like this, whenever I think about something like this, I think about in Evan Almighty, Bruce Almighty, when he's sitting on the road and he kind of splits the cars into veering off to the sides, and he can drive in a straight line. Like, that's what I imagine hackers doing, just having everyone pull over so he can cruise down the road, which actually wouldn't be a bad analogy for what ambulances are probably going to be able to do. But regardless, so yeah, that self-driving car, Tesla, they're trying for it. They're again, this new shadow mode. The only downside is, of course, it's only going to be in Teslas. So I know there's some research going
This week.
Yeah. And speaking of this week, I think it was Monday that Uber's self-driving truck.
Yes, this bud's for you.
Yeah, made its first delivery.
Yes.
Of Budweiser, I believe. So.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about an 18-wheeler, cruising on down the highway with no human behind the wheel, but I think it's probably an improvement.
I would say that, but one of my family members is actually a truck driver for Hershey, so he does good work. But again, as a tech person, I cannot say his job is safe. There is a lot of research going into not just kind of the personal car and the personal driver, but in a commerce setting, in a business setting, they're pouring millions, if not billions of dollars into self-driving trucks.
Well, and they're doing it for a variety of reasons. It's not just to eliminate the human behind the wheel, because you may always have to have a human in the cab. But when you look at the horrendous number of instances in which there are big rig accidents because drivers are overtired or distracted, that can come to an end. You may, as I say, you may always need a warm body in that cab, but you won't face those kinds of human failures that we see causing, thousands of deaths every year.
Yeah, it's there has been a lot of regulation that I think, like, regulation is kind of the impetus behind a lot of this automation. We heard from McDonald's that when they said $15 an hour for our workers is only going to speed up our, or incentivize us to automate the cashier slash like everyone else but the cook. Like they're going to automate all that. It's like, you can blame legislate. You can blame the $15 work hour, or $15 work hour. But let's be real. You were working on this before, and now it's just going to be more feasible sooner. So I mean, you were going to do this anyways. Just with truck drivers. I mean, they're going to replace truck drivers eventually. But when you have legislation for truck drivers that they can't drive for more than 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, they have to rest, they have to check in, they have to weigh in. When you put all this legislation in place, it's just speeding up the, kind of the need for self-driving trucks. So
there is no question that any new technology brings with it its own disruption. If you look at what happened to, the carriage trade, the guys who maintain horses and buggies when the automobile came along, that kind of progress brings inevitable disruption. And our society is smart enough that it will adjust to it. And unfortunately, there are going to be people who are going to lose their jobs and who are going to be displaced by technology and who will not effectively recover from that disruption.
Right.
And that is unfortunate. And I don't mean to sound heartless, but it is an inevitability of progress.
Yeah. Wow. Holy crap. I wish we could end this on a brighter note. We have about a minute left. Is there anything happy on Tech 50 Plus that you want people to check out? Is there